Love bombing. So I thought I would talk about this today because I've fallen prey to love bombing a few times in my life, being a recovering and recovered codependent. And it's a very confusing thing to go through, and it's so deceptive that a person doesn't really know it's happening. It's hard to see that it's happening. So I thought I would talk about it today because somebody out there might be going through it, and hearing this might give you a sense of what's happening to you, right? So love bombing is known as a narcissistic abuse cycle, and the stages are idealization, devaluation, discard, and then hoovering. Okay, and I'll get to that just now. So people who love bomb have narcissistic traits, right? And they are doing it based on their own childhood trauma. They need to gain complete attention, affection, love from their target because that gives them a sense of value, right? And just before we go into it, it's funny that love bombing was first coined by members of the Unification Church in the United States in the 1970s because it was a tactic that they would use with new recruits. Like if somebody was showing interest in the church cult, they would start being friendly and affectionate and feigning interest and being like, come on, like being that kind of personality to get the recruit to come into the cult. So this is where love bombing first emerges. So a love bombing might not be religious, but it's interesting because a lot of the narcissists that I've come into contact with in my life have come from a background of fundamentalism. Anyway, so love bombing, this is how you know it's happening to you. When you meet the person, they are overwhelmingly focused on you. Their attention and affection and oozing flattery and goodness and sparkly shine is just for you. And it's overwhelming emotional connection. They are pushing an emotional bond. So they share far too much personal information. They are way too flattering right up front. There's far too much emotional energy pouring out of them toward you because they are trying to create an emotional bond very, very quickly. So the amount of emotional affection, energy, flattery, attention that's coming at you is incongruent with the amount of time you've known this person. So they're pushing this at you, trying, and it's very charismatic. So what they will also do is they will say flattering things and often say things that, they like make out that this is some kind of divine connection. This is otherworldly, this connection that they're having with you. This is beyond normal. They start to make you feel like, whoa, this is otherworldly. Look at this. This is like I'm inside an opium den of love and bliss with this person, right? It's almost like they're hotboxing the room with their love energy, right? And they're doing this because they need to be seen. They need your affection for them. They need you to love them. They need you to fall in love with them. That's what gives them value. And one of the things they also do is they mirror you. So they are perceiving you and say, you are very into something in life, certain music, a certain mystical persuasion, a certain anything, ideology. They don't really necessarily say too much about themselves, but they're listening. They get you to say a lot. So you feel so heard because you're pouring out your feelings, right? And they start to mirror your personality back at you as if it's their own personality. So they start to mirror your ideologies back at you, your beliefs, your opinions. They start to dress like you, right? And that is also part of the flattery tactic to get you to fall in love with them, to fall for them, to give them all of your focus and attention and to quickly bond with them. That what they need is a strong emotional bond from the get-go, right? And they use their charm and charisma to do this. And once they have the bond, right, then they will kind of go on a process of devaluing, meaning you don't know where you stand with them. They pull away emotionally. They become avoidant, and then it's confusing for the target or the person that's been love bombed and turn toward them and being like, whoa, this is a major connection. As soon as they have you, they will then turn away because they need you to want them, right? So this is the devaluing process. And in the middle of, in between the devaluing and the discard, right? Because it goes idealization, meaning love bomb, devalue, discard, hoover. So in between devaluing and discard, they will breadcrumb. So you're in this process of confusion, like, wait a second, there was this major connection and a deep emotional bond that this person forced. You might even try to have kept a boundary, but this person is overwhelming with the emotional energy, right? You are their target and they are doing multiple things to get your attention, right? So when they have it, they start the devaluing process, which is, wait, where do I stand with this person? They're turning away. They're becoming emotionally avoidant now, right? So the target starts to reach out and they're like, where do I stand with this person? And the narcissistic predator will then breadcrumb. When they think, oh, I'm about to lose this person, they breadcrumb you with a bunch of affection, be that through communication, be that through, coming together in some way. They turn toward you and they recollect, rebomb. So they'll devalue and there's this confusion. Wait a second, what's going on? And as soon as you might like be pulling away entirely, they turn back and bomb you again, right? Because they need you there. They need you there watching them, loving them, right? They have to have your attention and affection. Now, if you happen to put down a boundary with the narcissist, right? So maybe you put a boundary down and draw a line with this behavior. Maybe you turn away and you're like, no, I'm not into this strange dynamic where I don't know where I stand and it's emotional confusion for me. Confusion is a large part of how the target will feel in a narcissistic abuse cycle, right? So as soon as one takes their power back and turns away from the narc, they come into breadcrumb you, but say that doesn't work anymore. And you're like, no, this is my, I'm going to protect myself. They will then discard. So if you give them a boundary or draw a line, they will discard you. They will throw you out, often with no explanation. They'll just ghost you. That's it. They don't say a word. They just disappear, right? And you're left with a very a broken heart, confusion, and picking up the pieces and restoring the self. And actually kind of every time this has happened to me in my life, I've gone back and had to look at, what did I miss? How did this happen? And I really do advise looking up narcissistic abuse cycles and love bombing and learning the language so that you're able to identify it when it happens in life. And now, then, after a while, the narcissist will come back around with a process called hoovering, and they will come back around to try and hook you in again. So if you've been discarded, don't fall for that part. Hold the line. And I just also want to say, it's a horrible thing to go through. And it's the people who fall prey to narcissistic love bombing have usually been brought up by a narcissistic figure in their lives. So they are very susceptible to this kind of emotional abuse. So if you've gone through it, I'm really sorry. I know it's the worst, but we get stronger each time. And like I said, go look at some of the literature around it and learn how to identify it better. And if you're in a state like this where you're with a person that's always moving the goalposts, showering you with affection, then devaluing you, then discarding you, then coming back around, and this whole cycle keeps going, well, maybe there's something to look at there. And you might not feel it, but you would be better without this person in your life. So sending love.